If you are someone who gets stuck in indecision, who fears making decisions because you don't know what the right decision is, or maybe it's that you know you need to make a decision, but you just can't, and you're frustrated about it, you don't know what to do about it, then you are going to get a lot out of this video today. We're going to be talking about why you struggle to make decisions, and then we're going to talk about what to do about it. And the reason why we talk about the why is because we need to have that understanding so that we can, start with the understanding, start with knowing what's going on, so then we can move into the how of dealing with it at the root of the issue. If you're someone who struggles with indecision, I think you're going to get a lot out of this one today. I used to be someone who could hardly make a decision, even if something so simple as just choosing whether or not I wanted to get just a plain coffee or a latte when I go to Starbucks. And now I really don't have any problems making decisions, and we're going to talk about how to deal with this one. If you're new here, welcome to our incredible little corner on the internet. Take a second, introduce yourself in the comment section below. If you're back again, say hello. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Either way, my name is Kristina, and I am a registered clinical therapist, a researcher, a coach, and the creator of my incredible membership community, the Shift Society, where the people in there are taking this work to a deeper transformational level, doing it with community and support and connection so they don't have to feel alone, so they don't have to, wonder what to do if they get stuck. That's what the Shift Society is for. You can get more information about that in the description below. I help heart center go-getter people break through the crap that is holding them back so that they can like themselves and their lives more every day. And this issue with indecision, it might surprise you why you get stuck with indecision. A lot of people think, I just can't make decisions. I'm just a really indecisive person. And I'm going to bet you that it's not because you are an indecisive person. It's because you are struggling with your relationship with yourself. And I talk about that a lot here on this channel, about building a strong, healthy, secure relationship with ourselves, not just because it's nice to like the person that we have to live with from the day we're born to the day we die, the person that we're stuck with 24/7. It's not that it's, just feels good to feel good about that person, but also because our relationship with ourselves underlies so many of our issues if we're struggling with our relationship with ourselves, and it resolves so many of our issues when we are not struggling, when we are feeling good and solid in who we are. So struggling to make decisions is really about not the outcome, right? Because so often we're like, I don't know what the right decision is, because what if I choose this? What if I get a latte and I take a few sips and realize I really wanted a coffee? I mean, I say that kind of tongue in cheek, but it's interesting how if you struggle with big decisions, when I should move, if I should change my career, what I should be doing next week, what I should be doing with my life, what I should be learning more about, whatever that is, whether or not I should stay in this relationship, whether or not I should start this relationship. Whatever that is, if you struggle with indecision with the bigger things, then I am going to bet that you struggle with them with the smaller, kind of more inconsequential, relatively insignificant things. Just let me know in the comment section below. I would love to hear from you. For those of you who are struggling with indecision with bigger things, let me know if you also struggle with indecision with the everyday things. Or if you struggle with indecision with everyday things, let me know if you also are feeling stuck. You've been stuck in a bigger decision for a while and not taking any action on it. And we're going to talk more about why that is important in a little bit here. But as I was saying, it's not the outcome. It's not making a decision and then getting an outcome that we don't like, or that wasn't the one that we really wanted, or that we're disappointed with. That's not the issue. That's not actually really what we fear. if you really get stuck in indecision, it's because of what you are going to make the outcome mean about you. It's because you're going to think, I failed, I got it wrong, I'm so stupid, I can't do anything right, what's wrong with me, right? You're going to turn against yourself. You're going to make the outcome personal, and that's going to feel terrible, which is why you don't want to make the decision. It makes sense. It's because you don't want to feel terrible. You don't want to blame and berate yourself for something not going the way that you wanted it to go. When making a decision is clear, it's easy. So I'm not talking about the times where, it's not indecision. When there's a clear decision right in front of us, the only times we ever really struggle with making a decision when it's an obvious choice where it's just like, yeah, that's going to be good, that's not going to be good. The only reason why we get stuck in the indecision is because we actually want to do the thing that we know is not good, but we're trying to figure out a way to justify it. We're like, I know that it's probably not going to be good to do this thing, but if I just kind of sit here long enough, maybe I can come up with some kind of justification, some kind of reason to do the thing that isn't good, because I don't want to make the good, responsible, healthy choice. So that's really the only time we get stuck in indecision, when the decision is more clear, because we are, trying to justify something that's not good. Not good for us, not good for someone else, whatever that is. But the rest of the time, when you're struggling to make a decision, it's because you're making the outcome mean something about you. When the truth is, when you agree that no matter what happens, you are going to catch instead of kick yourself when you fall, you're going to be there for yourself. You're not going to take the outcome personally. When you know that that's the case, then there's not so much on the line. When you're like, okay, I don't know what the best or right decision is to make here, so I'm just going to make one, and I'm going to decide to go with it, and then I'm going to decide what I am going to think about the outcome if it isn't the one that I want. I am going to choose my thoughts about the outcome. I'm going to choose not to think that it means that I'm an idiot, that I don't know what I'm doing, that I'm, pathetic, that I suck. I'm going to choose to not make it mean that. I'm going to choose to make it mean something else, like I got something else to learn, or, I'm going to take something from this, or now I've learned, now I know something that I didn't know before. So that's going to help me with my decisions like this in the future. If you make your outcomes mean that, then there's very little to fear. And so I talk about this, how I used to really struggle with decisions, even so far as I'd go to a restaurant. Oh my gosh, I'd go to a restaurant and I'd sit there and I would read over before making a decision, I'd read over the entire menu. And then I would ask the server what they recommended, to give me their top 3 recommendations. And then I would probably, choose something that they had suggested. Excuse me. And then I would inevitably change my decision after they left with the order. Within like a couple minutes, I would be like, no, I really want that. And then I'd go and track the waiter down and change the order. Until I started to realize that I will, in fact, have another meal. I was putting so much weight on the outcome that I have to choose the perfect culinary experience, or I'm going to be so disappointed. I'm going to feel so upset. I'm going to feel like I've wasted this money. But I don't have to feel those things, because those aren't actually feelings. Those are thoughts. But I don't actually have to think that about the outcome. I don't have to think that even if I order something that I do not like, that's not my favorite, that isn't this mind-blowing food experience, I don't have to make it mean that it was a waste, that it sucks, that I'm so disappointed, this is so awful. I don't have to make it mean that. I can make it mean whatever I want. And if I'm going to choose what I'm going to make it mean, I can choose to make it mean something that isn't leaving me feeling terrible, frustrated, discouraged, and disappointed. starting with the small decisions is going to help you with the bigger ones. So we do this. We build on it. We start small. If you're struggling with big decisions, take it a step back and start letting yourself just go with the smaller decisions. Just make it and talk yourself through it, right? It also, you can't just sort of make a decision and then just, feel terrible afterwards and feel anxious and feel stressed and be like, white knuckling it through it and being like, oh, what if it's the wrong decision? And I don't know. And what if I screwed up? And what if this doesn't work out the way that I want it to? And then if it doesn't, then you're like, oh, I made this decision and I just went with it. And now it didn't go the way that I wanted. So I feel terrible. And I think I'm terrible. And I think I can't, and everything I do is terrible. You can't just do that, because then it's just going to continue to feel awful. You have to change your entire thought process along the way. You have to work on going with your decision and not just sort of like gripping and turning away, hoping for the best, going with it and being like, this is the decision I'm making. I'm owning this decision, and I'm also going to own the result of it. And I am going to decide what I'm going to do with that result. I get to choose what I make it mean. Like I said, start small. It's going to be a lot easier letting yourself talk yourself through choosing whether or not to get, a cappuccino or a latte and just going with that decision and just deciding that you're going to enjoy whatever drink it is that you choose to get. And just be good with that decision and starting small and then building your way up. There are people in the Shift Society doing this work, working on our thoughts, working on how we're seeing things, what we're making things mean. So much of the things that we struggle with are rooted in our thoughts, what we make it mean, how we're interpreting it, what we're making things mean about us. This is the deeper work, really understanding what is the actual problem here, because more often than not, the problem is not the situation. The problem is our thoughts or interpretation of the situation. So learning how to work on that and change that so that we can be in charge of how we are thinking and feeling. We can be in charge of our human experience instead of letting our circumstances, outcomes, and situations determine that for us. Getting better at making decisions does start with learning how to trust yourself. So just to clarify, trusting yourself and building self-trust doesn't mean that you trust that everything is going to be okay all the time. Everything is going to turn out. Everything is going to be great. Self-trust is about knowing that no matter what happens, you can trust yourself to be there for yourself. No matter what happens, you can trust yourself to be able to figure it out. No matter what happens, that you are going to have your own back. It's like trusting in a relationship, in a close relationship, maybe even a romantic relationship. Having trust with your partner doesn't mean that you're never going to go through hard times. It doesn't mean that things aren't ever going to be challenging or difficult. It means that that person is going to stick it out with you when it does. When it does get hard, when things do go wrong, when there are challenges, you trust that that person is going to continue to work with you through it. And that's the same thing with building trust within ourselves, being able to trust that I'm not going to abandon myself. I'm not going to turn against myself. I am going to be there for myself. Learning the steps to self-trust. I have a guide for you. It's the simple steps to self-trust. In the description below, you can start working on your relationship, becoming more confident and secure and solid in who you are, starts with learning to trust yourself. The guide for that, the steps for that, in the description below. And this is also on the bigger level, the deeper work that we're doing in the Shift Society. You can get on the wait list for that. Get more information about that in the description below. Decisions. What am I making the outcome mean? Get clear on that. Clean that up. And then it'll be so much easier to make the decision. And just as an aside, which I realize now should have been a central part to this talk because it is so important. If you are struggling with a big decision and you really don't know what to do and you don't feel ready to make the decision, don't. You are allowed to table that decision, put it aside, and then actually go to your calendar and put a date in the calendar, if it's a week from now, a month from now, 3 months, 6 months from now, where you're going to check back in with yourself at that time and see where you're at. But in the meantime, you're not going to sit and stress about it, think about it, contemplate it, go back and forth with it, put yourself through all kinds of stress and turmoil about it. You're just going to say, you know what? I'm not ready to make the decision. I'm putting it aside for now, not going to think about it. And I will come back to it and check in with myself on this date sometime in the future, and then do it. Check in with yourself at that time, sit down and say, okay, where am I at now? What information do I have? What experience do I have? Where are things at? Do I feel more ready to make this decision now? And if the answer is yes, then make the decision. If the answer is no, then again, put another date in the calendar. However, be careful with this one. Mind that you're not just avoiding something by continuing to put it off, versus genuinely just needing more time because it's a big, important decision and you want to feel more clear about it as opposed to just avoiding it out of fear. And you'll know the difference. You'll know the difference between just being like, I don't want to make this decision. I know what decision I need to make, but I'm afraid because it's going to be hard, it's going to be painful, it's going to be uncomfortable. So I'm avoiding it versus this is a big, important decision. I'm not ready to make it yet. I need more time, gather more experience and information. And I just need more context before I do it. That's allowed too. What's not helpful is continuing to sit in indecision and not making a decision and continuing to not make a decision and continuing to sit in that process of not making a decision versus just making a decision or agreeing that you're not going to make a decision, clearing the space, and then coming back to it later on. If you liked the video, hit the like button. If you think someone would benefit from this, someone you know has been struggling with decisions, feel free to share it along with them. And subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. It is always good to have you here. Grab the simple steps to self-trust, start getting going on building that within yourself, and get on the waitlist for the Shift Society. Until next time, take good care.